You excited?
As we say
You see a lot of animals?
Which means let's go.
Mommy excited?
Hey everybody, and welcome aboard.
Here we go.
Adam, and I'll be your safari guide through the Harambe Wildlife Reserve today. And before we set out, a few important safety reminders. Please remain seated at all times and keep those hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the truck. Keep a good grip on all of your personal belongings, as this ride will get bumpy and I'm not able to stop the truck to retrieve anything that might fall out. And for the safety and courtesy of everyone aboard, please keep those face coverings fully on over your noses and mouths at all times. Now, with all that out of the way, we are getting underway, and we're first headed through the Little Ituri Forest. Now, back over here on the right, I can already see this okapi. That is the animal with the dark brown coat and the black and white stripes on the legs. Now, the stripes actually help to break up its body's outline, so in really thick vegetation like that of the forest, all the okapi really needs to do is just stand still, and potential predators will not have a very easy time seeing it. Now, that animal is actually the only living relative of the giraffe. Now, like the giraffe, it does have a very, very long purple and blue tongue, which it'll use to actually wrap around the leaves of trees and bushes in order to pull them off and eat them in a feeding behavior known as browsing. Up on the right here on this hill, looks like 1, 2, 3 greater kudus. Now, I don't see any horns on their heads, and that's how you know that these are females. Those 3 female greater kudu, they do tend to be a little bit more social than the males of their species as well. You can often see them in groups of roughly 3 to 10. And I think, yeah, we're going to see over here to the right, actually pretty nearby,
Oh, look at that bird.
number of these bongos. Now, bongos are known for being rather shy, very quiet animals, preferring to live in very dense, deep parts of the forest, which means that they are rarely seen. In fact, one of their nicknames is the ghost of the forest. Actually, it's kind of cool how their horns grow, leaning back on their heads a little bit. That helps them to not get tangled up in all of the thick vegetation that they move through. They'll even polish their horns alongside tree trunks.
Yeah. That's the first one we saw right there.
Well, now we're going to have a look through the
Was that
Sabi
cool?
River Gorge.
Whoa.
Now we got a good lookout through here for Nile hippos, as they can often be seen in and around the water, sometimes spending the entire day in the water to avoid overheating if it's hot out. You can often see them coming out of the water onto land after nightfall. I actually see 2 over here to the right in the water. I'll go slowly by. Now, when hippos enter the water, they basically sink right to the bottom, which is all right for them. They'll actually walk or just sort of glide along the bottom of the river, and they can hold their breath for roughly 5 to 8 minutes.
I think we might see another one on the other side.
See a few over here on the left as well.
Here we go.
Moving
There they
through.
are.
Very, very heavy animals. They can reach maximum weights of 5,500 pounds, which you can see really about how they walk along the bottom here. You'll also see these very large-billed, webbed-footed birds to the left. These are known as pink-backed pelicans. Now on them, like many pelican species, they have what's called a guller pouch. So that is that pouch on their bill that allows them to scoop up water as well as fish when they are eating. And they can expand that pouch and blow air over it with their wings to cool themselves down. See another hippo
There's
here.
no swimming in the water here. Right there.
Now, when hippos are coming out, like I said, it's usually out onto land. It's usually after nightfall once it's cool for them. They'll eat roughly 80 to 90 pounds of grass in a
Look,
day.
there's one running.
See that one here on the left moving about. Now, don't let the look fool you. Hippos may appear to be very slow and clumsy when moving on land, but they're actually capable of outrunning a human being over short distances. You'll see all over here to the left
look at
now
that
these
crocodile.
Nile crocodiles. This is the largest species of crocodilian in Africa.
Yep.
They're able to get about 16 feet in length and weigh each up to 500 pounds. You see some of them with their mouths open. That is a way for them to cool down. By holding the mouth open heat inside can be released, moisture inside the mouth can evaporate and pull heat from the body. Now they're known as generalists in their feeding behavior. Basically that just means that as long as they are hungry and they can catch something and swallow it, they will probably try. Which could, in the case of living around the river, that most predominant food source for them is going to be fish. Now we're going to have a look on the savanna. Now the conservation of water is a very important adaptation for plants and animals as it gets very hot and dry in the dry season. Which actually, if you look at this baobab tree here to the right, that plant is very well adapted for life in a dry, hot environment. It can go leafless, as it is now, for up to 9 months out of the year. That helps it to conserve water, since it wouldn't have to circulate all that water through those leaves that would potentially evaporate them. Instead, that precious water can be safely stored in its trunk for later use when, in the dry season, rainfall diminishes significantly. There can be several hundred gallons of water inside the trunk of the baobab tree. We are now out here on the open plains of the savanna, and something you might notice is that a lot of these trees don't have leaves below a certain height. A lot of that is thanks to giraffes pruning their undersides. They're going to be the only animals tall enough to reach up to the bottoms of the trees and pull those leaves down, which can help the trees grow a little bit taller, a little bit healthier, as the giraffes are basically pruning them, shaping their growth. On the left over here, if you look to the left of this den, you might see kind of lying down by those tall clumps of grass, those African painted dogs. They have the orange, black, and white coats. One of them just kind of moved his ear a little bit. Now this is actually the most successful predator of large mammals in all of Africa. You'll see a few in the den resting here as well to the left. Now they'll hunt in a similar fashion to how wolves hunt, in that they will use their great stamina to actually chase prey for many miles in order to exhaust it before bringing it down together. Now if they work together, that means they're able to take down larger prey than they are. See on the left here, looks like a wildebeest, kind of not quite getting the message that the rest of them have moved on to the right. And you can also see those sable antelopes with the dark brown coats and the very long curved horns. Now, sable predators like lions may try to jump on the sable antelope's backsides, and so those horns curve backward over time. That will allow them to, at the right moment, deliver a very swift defensive blow with those horns. Looks like there might be a little bit of a wildebeest crossing up here. No problem. We always stop for the animals. They don't always stop for us. Now, wildebeest are very well known for their migrations. They do, in fact, have the second largest migration of any land animal. Now, that would be second only to humans and the size of our migrations throughout the year. So their group can get up to about 1.5 million individuals in size. And their migration can go between about 500 and 1,000 miles. Now actually, as they migrate and they need to lie down to sleep, they will actually be pretty orderly in how they do it. They're going to lie down in rows rather than clustering together. So they'll sleep leaving a few feet of space in between each row. That way, in case they do need to get up at a moment's notice and run, they're not crashing into each other. They have a lot of clearance. And you'll notice the very striking horns on that Ankole cattle back there to the left. Absolutely massive. Now, their horns aren't actually as heavy as you might think by looking at them. They're actually filled with blood vessels, which will allow for blood to flow through those horns, and that's going to radiate away excess body heat, which will allow them to manage their body temperature, which is very handy out here. It can get very, very hot. You'll also see this Hartman's mountain zebra here on the right. Now, a really easy way to tell that it's a Hartman's mountain zebra is by that extra flap of skin on the neck. That's called a dewlap. Now, this is the only zebra species to have that, so it's a very distinguishing feature. Researchers actually don't know what it's for, that extra flap of skin. They think maybe they developed it as a way for extra blood vessels to get rid of some body heat. You'll see this one looking a little bit dirty here on the right. That's actually intentional. They will roll around in sand or mud to cool them off, and if it's sand, it can actually kind of scrub away some potential bugs or parasites from their fur. See, in addition to a few more zebras on the right, those very, very small antelopes that are kind of colored like s'mores. Those are springbok, national animal of South Africa. Despite their small size, they actually can spring about 6 feet straight up into the air. 3 more Ankole cattle here. Now, this is actually one of only 2 domesticated species that live on the reserve. I just saw peeking out, see 2 giraffes here over on 3 giraffes here over on the left. Now, not only are giraffes very tall, but they also have really good eyesight. So living out here on the savannah where it's pretty open and flat, as long as they are standing up, they can usually spot potential predators from a long distance away. Now, because they are a prey species, liking to err on the side of caution, they usually do stand for the majority of their behaviors, including sleeping. So giraffes usually do sleep standing up, and in general, they only need to sleep for about 30 minutes a day. That's about all the sleep they really need. Mothers will usually give birth standing up as well, meaning that the newborn giraffe has about a 5 to 6 foot drop right onto the ground when it's born. It's actually the shock from hitting the ground that gets the baby to start taking its very first breath.
The monkey.
See
right
a few
there.
mandrills here over to the left. You'll actually see the baby very, very energetic right now, and the mother chasing after her. She's getting very used to everyone else in the troop. Now, this is the largest species of monkey in the world. They're able to actually have these very, very beautiful red and blue facial markings, which actually get brighter the more potentially agitated or excited they become. And they have very, very large canine teeth, which can be used for defense. But actually, when they show their teeth to each other, it's kind of
He's right
kind of
there.
like a human smile. I actually did see the rear end of that elephant up there on the right. Looks like he's headed up that pathway. Let's come forward here and see if we can spot some more elephants, because we're actually entering elephant country. Now, something that's been learned about elephants in recent years is that they are really afraid of bees, so that even just hearing the buzzing of bees can sometimes be enough to keep them out of an area. Knowing that has been really helpful when it comes to working with conflict between farmers and elephants, as occasionally elephants will wander on the farmland as they move about an area, and they can end up being really destructive to those farmers' crops by trampling them with their great weight. Elephants aren't trying to cause that damage. They simply don't know what farms are. They're used to walking about as they please. But for the farmers, that can present some issues as they rely on those crops for their livelihoods, and a lot of people will rely on them for their food supply. But it can be really hard to stop an elephant from going where it wants to go. Now, in the past, that meant, unfortunately, some elephants were either harmed or killed to stop those depredations, to stop them coming on the land, but it doesn't have to happen that way. Another solution to that issue lies with the Elephant Bee Project. Now, what this group is doing is they're actually teaching farmers how to take care of bees, and they're helping them to set up beehive fences around their crops. Now, these beehive fences are sort of like, if you can imagine, sawhorses with hanging baskets that have beehives in them, and those get placed throughout the farmers' fields. Now, the elephants, upon approaching the fields, either see or hear the bees, and they avoid them as they move about, which is great. That keeps them safely out of the way. Farmers' crops won't be trampled, and the farmers are able to use the some of the bees' honey actually as a source of income. They can sell some of it. I do see a few younger elephants up on the left here. Looks like a few younger males here. This is what we would call a bachelor group. There'll be several young male elephants in a bachelor group, and In it, they will stay for a number of years, kind of sparring with each other, trying to push each other over and wrestle, making intimidation displays at each other by fanning their ears out and putting their trunks up in the air, making themselves look really big and intimidating. All of that's going to be really helpful for them to develop physically. When they do come across a dominant male of a herd, they can challenge him for that dominance. Now you're seeing here on the left this flamboyance. That's what we call a group of flamingos. Now this specifically is the greater flamingo species, which is the lightest pink out of all of them. You can actually see what some of them are doing by putting their heads high up in the air and kind of waving them back and forth. That is a normal behavior. That's called flagging. And it's really just a bonding behavior. They'll do it to see if everybody in the group is responding to each other. It looks like not all of them are really interested at the moment. It's kind of like a dance. It kind of keeps the group together and responsive to one another. Come up here, we'll actually get a closer look at these 3 scimitar horned oryx there to the left. Now these 3 are actually very, very good at surviving in a hot, dry climate like that of the savanna. Because for one thing, they're actually able to conserve their body's water by not having to sweat until they reach about 115 degrees Fahrenheit on the inside. That's just when they start sweating. They can also survive for up to 9 months without drinking any water. So that can really, really assist them. Any water that they would need for their metabolisms to function can be supplemented by the plants they're eating from. I actually see popping over the hill over there to the left, that cheetah. Just look at that open space in between the trees, and you can see the cheetah's round head back there. Fastest land animal in the world. Now cheetahs are able to go from 0 to over 60 miles per hour in just 3 seconds, so they really can take off like a race car. I see a few more up here on the left as well, a little bit closer lying down. Now cheetahs on their faces have black lines that go past the eyes down to the nose and mouth. You can see a few more.
See him? He's rolling around.
Now it's actually those black lines that will help to absorb some of the glare from the sun and keep it out of their eyes. That way they're not losing visibility of whatever prey they're chasing after. Kind of like built-in sunglasses for them. The cheetahs also have those really long muscular tails, which will be used to help them kind of steer and balance as they are pursuing prey.
Oh, we're coming up on the lion.
Actually help them avoid falling over, which would allow the prey to escape. Now, strictly speaking, cheetahs are not considered big cats. It's because they are not able to roar, but they are able to purr. They're one of the larger cats that can do that. But the true big cats would be lions, tigers, leopards, and jaguars, and I do see a few lions here to the left now, enjoying a
big
nice
lion.
rest. Get forward and try to see their faces. Now this is often how you'll see lions during the day. Being more active at night, they like to spend the day storing up all the energy that it takes to move their heavy, muscular bodies around. So they'll sleep roughly 16 to 20 hours a day. You might actually see, yep, there's actually 2 females there on that rock resting. Very cool. Now, of course, the male is easy to differentiate from the females by that lovely mane of fur that he has. The mane by itself can weigh as much as 40 pounds. Now, it is the females who will do the majority of the hunting for the pride. They're the only cats known to hunt cooperatively, and they'll hunt nocturnally. Lions actually have really, really good night vision. They'll see about 6 times better at night than we're able to see at night.
Yeah, right there.
See 3 warthogs here to the left. Very cool. Now it's their tusks that are actually modified teeth, which they can use for defense as well as for digging. They'll also dig using their snouts and their hooves, looking for different kinds of bugs in the ground as well as different kinds of roots to munch on. I do see she's actually sitting very, very still, but there is an ostrich back there. If you look on the right
Oh,
where
there he
that
is.
stump is, yeah, she's got her head popping up, and there's actually a clutch of their eggs here to the right as well. Largest, heaviest species of bird in the world, with a, to actually be able to run up to about 40 miles per hour. Now, fun fact about ostriches that you can share with your friends is that their eyes are actually larger than their brains. It's just a pretty cool fact. They don't really need to be that smart to be well adapted for survival.
Big rhinos.
Because as I said, they are able to be very, very fast runners
Video
on two legs. Now they don't fly, that's pretty well known, but ostriches actually will use their wings to help them steer and balance as they run. Because being on two legs going at such high speeds can be a little bit precarious. Now we're heading through the Magadi Glen, where lies one of the warden's outposts, where in addition to other things, they will help the villagers of Harambe in taking care of these Nigerian dwarf goats, which you can see up here to the left. Very, very small goats. They may be wondering why Nigerian dwarf goats, why do they take care of them? Well, this assists the villagers of Harambe because they're actually able to drink some of their milk that the goats produce, which is the milk is considered to be quite nutritious and a bit valuable, so any milk that they are not drinking right away, they are able to sell, so that helps them get a little bit more profit. And it's for both of those reasons, really, that the villagers are able to rely less and less on taking from wild resources. Also, they're able to eat a lot of undergrowth that many other pasturing animals are not able to, so they can actually assist farmers by clearing out pasture. Well, friends, it looks like our safari is coming to an end, but hopefully your journey with wild things and wild places doesn't end here. Don't forget to keep looking for and learning more about different animals throughout your day here at Disney's Animal Kingdom, but especially when you head home, there will be animals and other wildlife sharing the land with you, also calling those places home that you can learn about and respect. You can turn every day into a safari just by going around your neighborhood, seeing what kind of wildlife there is. Or better yet, go to a park, find out what kind of life shares the land with you. That can really foster the desire to protect and maintain it. Finally, a really great thing that we can do, a very simple thing that we can do, that can end up helping out a lot of turtle species, is by using reusable straws instead of disposable plastic straws. Seems very simple, easy to miss, but actually the plastic from those straws can end up being one of the heaviest waste components in waterways. So consider reusable straws as a way to conserve. And now, friends, we're coming up to the dock, so check your seats, make sure you have all those personal belongings. Here in Harambe, we do not like to say goodbye, as that's simply too final. So instead of goodbye, I'm going to leave you all by saying Kwa Herini, which means go well. Go well, everyone. I'm Adam. You've been riding with Simba One. It has been a pleasure. On the right, watch your hands, arms, feet, and legs as the doors slide open. Watch that step down. Asante Sana, friends. Thank you very much.
How was it, Miracle? Did you like which animal was your favorite?
Flamingo.
The flamingos?